even though I'm getting rejected over and over again, the whole like rejection, it's like you get used to it.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you're like, oh, like it's actually not that bad. But so when you do get a yes, you're like, oh, amazing. So then it's like the worst case scenario now. It's like I get a no.
Welcome to the Less Trodden Path podcast, a dedication to untangling the world in a raw and honest way, following your gut and your dreams, no matter what they may be. Often they are different to what is known as the norm, a step out of the comfort zone, the path less tread. We are here to help inspire you to take your own path by sharing both our own journey and the stories of others too, making it clear along the way that anyone can do it, whatever it may be, with all the ups and downs, the good, the bad, the pretty, the ugly included. Dreams take time, but if you put your all into it, time doesn't mean anything. This week's guest is Daniel. Whilst in Bali on my yoga teacher training, I met this adventurous roaming soul, captured by his stories of moving out of his hometown in Canada to work in Australia, his time volunteering in the depths of the Costa Rican jungle, and his journey into finding yoga. We reached out to Daniel to hear more about his life so far. Daniel's go-get, find-a-way attitude combined with his spontaneous go-with-the-flow nature made for an all-impactful and energising podcast that we are sure will encourage you to expand beyond your comfort zone that little more. As Daniel has found, in life, sometimes all you need to do is ask the right person and you'll find yourself exactly where you want to be. Here is Daniel's very own Less Trodden Path.
Cause I don't have any, there's too many places to go. I'll be spending all my time living out my bucket list.
Like honestly, just grab a coffee, grab a tea. Have you had breakfast yet? What's the time? 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
Half 10?
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock.
20 to 11, right? Seeing as we started 40 minutes
ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's cool though. But no, genuinely, like, how Canada? Like, I always forget where you're from. I always want to say Colombia for some reason, but I think I said this.
Yeah,
it is Colombia.
No, yeah, you got it. So I was hello, sorry.
Can you hear us?
It cut off. Yeah, so I'm from Colombia. I was born in Colombia, and I was pretty much raised there. I lived there until like I was 11, and then later on we moved to Canada because like my dad's job and like my mom, my parents just wanted like a better future for me. So then we moved to Canada. So I don't know if you knew, but in Canada there's like two sides. Well, Canada, there's like the French side and there's the English side. So then we got to the French side, which is Quebec, and then we were there for about a year. But then, like job-wise, like Quebec is not like the best province. So then we happened to move to Alberta, and which is like where all the, like oil and gas is, and like I don't know. I think like most of the economy of Canada comes from Alberta.
Okay.
Because Alberta is a very rich province, and then now we're living in Calgary, and I've been here since I was like 11, pretty much. At the very beginning, it was like a culture shock, you know, like going from Colombia to Canada. Just everything was so different. People were very different. You know, language barriers. I had to learn French first because I was in Quebec for a year. So I learned how to speak French, and then I was in hang of things, and it was good. But then I moved to Calgary, so then I had to learn English. And then my parents didn't put me in a francophone school. So then I slowly forgot my French as I learned English. But like it's still there, which is it's not bad. But you know I could defend myself if I really have to. And then so then I got here in I think it was grade 6, and like at the very beginning I guess I made friends, but it wasn't like really friends because I could barely speak to them. And then I entered junior high. So how the school system here works is like there's pretty much like elementary, which is like grade 1 to 6, and then after grade 6 is junior high, which is grade 7 to 9, and after grade 9 it's high school, which is grade 10 to 12. So then I went to a junior high where I started just pretty much taking ESL, which is like English second language, and then I would like barely take any other courses or just like gym, math, like things that I would kind of like understand. And the very beginning was kind of lonely, but I don't know, like I remember like as a kid I would always kind of be pretty independent, and I'm like, I don't need friends, like I'm good, like that type of thing. But then later on, my English skills got better, so then I started making more friends. And a few of my friends that I'm still friends with like nowadays, like I met them in junior high, so it's like I made some really good connections there. So then junior high passed, English was good, got to high school. I think for me, like high school was kind of like my party years, especially like once I turned 18. This is, your average 18-year-old just wanted to drink, going out, having fun with friends. And then we all graduate, and a lot of my friends, they're going to universities, and some people are going to like things that they don't know if that's what they want to do, and like they would like tell me these things. I'm like, well, I have no idea what I want to do. And at this point, like throughout high school, I also was like working. Like I had a few jobs like here and there, and after high school, I was working at a restaurant as a host. And then, like probably like 6 months go by after we graduate, and I'm like, oh, like I want to do something. Like I don't know what I want to do, but I had like this desire to do something. Yeah. But I just knew it wasn't like university at the moment, or like studying at least. And then a friend from high school, I found out that she's like traveling in Australia, and she's like in Bali and all these kind of things. And I'm like, wow, that looks so cool. So like I shoot her a message. I'm like, hey, like how did you get to Australia? Like what did you do? Yeah, what did you do to like travel and stuff? She's like, oh, I just got a working holiday visa, and then you pretty much just get here and just travel and work as you go. I'm like, awesome. So then I had the time. Well, I have a cousin in Australia, so I shoot him a message. I'm like, hey man, like he's like way older than me. He's like 30. He's like 37 right now. By the time he was like 34, and I was like what, 19, 18? Yeah, I was 19. And then I'm like, hey, like I'm looking to go to Australia. Like, what do you think? Like, would you recommend it? And he's like, yeah, definitely. Like, and he lives in Cuba, so he's like, you can come and stay at my place. Like it's gonna be awesome. Like, you're gonna like it. I'm like, okay, cool. So then I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go to Australia. So I pay for my working holiday visa, and then it's like book my flights. I tell my mom. She's like, what? Well, yeah, I'm gonna go to Australia with it. This was like. And I barely had any money saved up, even though I have been working a lot. I also spent a lot of my money. But so I think I booked my flight in May and everything. I paid for everything in May. And then I was supposed to leave in July. So I had 2 months. So I was like, you know what? Whatever money I make within these 2 months, that's what I'm going to go to Australia.
So when you found out about Australia through your friend, was that in the month of May as well?
That was like April, yeah. So it's like,
very quick.
That's cool. It was like very like close to each other when I like really found out what I wanted to do. And then so I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Australia, and the visa's like for a whole year. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. So then on July 6th, I believe, I got on my flight, decided to go to Australia. I got there. My cousin, he picked me up at the airport. Got to his place. Oh, and then within those 2 months, like I was able to like, I think I saved like $3,000 or around that. So it's like, okay, like I have like enough to like I find a job, and then I'll just be chilling, I guess. So then I get to Australia. So I ended up staying with him for a few nights, and then one of his close friends, he was like renting a room. But it wasn't really a room. It was like a sun room. It was like very tiny. And then I was like paying like $160 or $180, which is pretty cheap for like Sydney, especially for like the area that we were in. So, and I was like, like I don't own much. I only need a tiny closet and a bed, and then I was good. And then for the next month, I'm applying everywhere.
Yeah.
So my goal was every day I went out to apply for jobs. I had 10 resumes with me.
Mm-hmm.
And then my goal was to give out these 10 resumes, and then I would go home. So then one day I was like giving out, and I had like 2 or 3 left. And then I saw Louis Vuitton, like the luxury store. I was like, I'm just going to go apply, like whatever. So I applied, and I gave it to this lady, and then she didn't seem that nice. I'm like, she's not even going to give it to the manager, whatever. So then a few weeks go by, I get an interview with Armani Exchange, and just like the clothing store, and then it went pretty well. So I worked there for like about a week until I get a call from Louis Vuitton.
No way.
I get a call from Louis Vuitton. They're like, hey, Daniel, like, we went through your resume, like, we would like to have an interview with you and go from there. I'm like, oh, awesome, yeah, for sure. Then I go, I have an interview with them, and then I had this interview with the nicest lady ever. I think she was English, like she was from the UK. I believe she was. She was so nice.
Yeah.
And I guess it was just, like, overall, like, I think of myself as a very genuine person, and she really like fell out with me. So then she's like, yeah, I guess like that's really what we look for here. We look for like making long-lasting relationships with the clients. We look for people who are very genuine and charismatic. So we would definitely like to have them on the team. And then I was just in shock. I was like, this really just happened? Like, after that, like, I guess I realized in that moment that it's like good to like shoot for the stars.
Yeah.
Because sure. I don't know, like I would never think I could have gotten that job.
No, well,
but then there I was. I nailed it. I don't know.
Yeah, like, and when you go to Australia, especially on a work and holiday visa, like, people just expect to go, you know, work on a farm or in a bar. Like, not Louis Vuitton. That's
that is very true. Like, I guess at the beginning, my goal in Australia wasn't much of like traveling because like I only save like so much money. I'm like, I'm not gonna get far with the amount of money I have. So I guess my goal was to just make as much money as I could. And yeah, so I think I think Louis Vuitton was paying at the moment the for the what's it called, for working holiday visas. They were paying like $25 an hour, which is really good. Like here in Canada, like minimum right now, it's like I think it's 15.
Yeah.
So, back then I think minimum was like probably like 12 when I was like working at the restaurant. So going from 12 to like 25, I was like, life is good.
That is like shooting for the bright.
Yeah. So then for the next, sorry, give you some background about like the working holiday visa. You're only allowed to work 6 months at a time at a company, so you're not taking like jobs from Australians.
Okay.
So then, so I was only allowed to work for Louis Vuitton for 6 months, but at I think that was like 4 months, I started to get homesick. So this was like around November, and then I'm like, oh, like I really miss home. I have been in Australia, like living on my own. Oh, and it was the very first time like I had left my house, I guess. Like really like been on my own, like cooking for myself, like taking care of myself, like being a responsible adult, I guess you can say. So I had learned quite a few things, and then I was getting homesick, so I decided to go back home for like Christmas, like New Year's. So I came back home, and then at the same time I had a long distance relationship at the time from a girl that was like living in Canada. So I came back home, things were great. And my girlfriend who was seeing at the time, she really liked to travel as well. So she wanted to come to Australia. But then I was like, let's make a few stops before I go to Australia. We found really cheap tickets to go to Kuala Lumpur, to Malaysia. So we went to Malaysia, and then we stayed there for 4 days. It was amazing. Malaysia is amazing. Like they have a monkey temple. It's so cool. Yeah. Anyway, the food was insane. Like, not gonna lie, it was the best like vegan like food I've ever had in my life. Yeah. It was delicious. Awesome. And after Malaysia, we decided to go to Bali.
So was this all just was this all kind of being paid through with the money that you had made at Louis Vuitton?
Exactly. Yes, yes. So I saved a lot of money within just like those like 4 or 5 months working at Louis Vuitton.
Yeah.
Oh, because also in Australia they pay you more on weekends. So on Saturdays I was getting 27, Sundays I was getting 50.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I would just work every Sunday, work every weekend, make as much money as I could because I wanted to do traveling afterwards, right?
Yeah.
So then, with all that saved that money, I started traveling, and we went to Bali, and we stayed a whole month in Bali, and it was my very first time in Bali, and I fell in love with Bali like right away, just like with the people, like the culture, just like the island itself. Like I fell in love with Ubud. I think like where we did yoga training.
Yeah.
I think it was just such a beautiful town.
Yeah.
Just the energy it gave out.
Yeah.
Just everything. I don't know.
There's something.
Yeah.
There, for sure.
It's something else for sure.
How did you? Just quickly, kind of stopping you there. Like, how did you throw yourself into just going to Bali? Obviously, you had done it with Australia, but you had your cousin and you were going for work.
Yeah.
Whereas this was just travel. Like, how did you go about it? What did you like? How did you know what you were doing? You know, because it's quite like daunting to just go to, especially a country like that, just to travel. You know, how did you go about accommodation? Like, how did you do it? Because every time we've always had conversations like this. Like, I mean, there's a few times that I've reached out to you, like, I need your help. Like, how do you do it? And you just seem to just know, which is, like, I'm sure you don't, right? I'm sure you have to, like, I mean, you probably just throw yourself into it, but you always just seem to be the guy to go to.
Well, it's very interesting because I don't know what I'm doing. I go into places that, keep in mind, this is like my very first travel inside Australia. And I had gone to Mexico before for like all-inclusive vacations, but like you never leave the resort.
It's not the same.
Right? You're like there. So then this was like, for me, this was like my first like legit like traveling, like really getting myself out there. And obviously, I was 19 at the time. I had no idea what I was doing. I'm gonna go to a unknown country pretty much, and I just kind of like looked up online, kind of like, oh, like things to do like in this country, in this city, that type of thing. That's what I would do. For example, Malaysia, I just went there because of convenience of the tickets being really cheap. I paid like $300-$400 just to fly there from Canada. That's like really good. And then from Malaysia to Bali, it was like probably like $90, which is nothing. So Malaysia was just like kind of like out of convenience. And then when it came to accommodation, like I'm so glad for like Airbnb, because I think Airbnb made my travels like a lot easier. Because even at the beginning, I wasn't comfortable with hostels. Because I mean, the whole thought of just my belongings being in the same room with a bunch of strangers, else. I don't know, it scares me. So at the very beginning of my travels, like I would just stay in Airbnbs, and then in Bali, my girlfriend and I at the time, we were just also staying in Airbnbs because I don't know, we're kind of like introverts, and we just like the quiet time, and so we're just staying in Airbnbs. And how we would do it is that we rented a scooter pretty much kind of for like the whole month, and then we would book an Airbnb as we went. So if we really like the town, for example, we really like Ubud, we stayed there for a whole week. So then we would just kind of like look for Airbnbs for like 2 days, and after 2 days we try to like find another one, just kind of to like move around the town and like get to know like more of it. And then after that, we just kind of like we drove up all the way up north for like a nice we like decided to like go all out for a nice Airbnb, like kind of like luxurious. Because we were like paying like $20 like max.
I was gonna say it's so cheap, right? Like
exactly.
It's easy.
So like for a few days, we decided to spend quite a bit of money on this Airbnb because we're like, we deserve a real vacation, blah blah blah. So then we drove all the way north, and then we drove along the whole coast of Bali kind of like the East Coast. And then we were literally just booking as we went. So
that's so cool.
We were like booked the day before. So I guess like now thinking about it, like there wasn't really any planning behind it. It was literally going like day by day, which I think it's really amazing because in like everyone's like life, we go by just like trying to plan like the next thing, like, and we just stop living the moment. And I think like in reality, there's no future, there's no past. All there is just the now. Like this is it. So being able to like step into that kind of mindset that the only thing I need to worry is like where I'm gonna sleep tonight. Like so
cool.
I think it was like really cool. I don't know, like I guess I wasn't scared of like not knowing that I might not find a place. At the same time, we were there in February, which is like kind of like very low season for Bali. So finding accommodation was like pretty easy. I don't know. That is very true. Like there was no fear like behind like where we're going or what we're gonna do. Even like I think one of the things I really liked about Bali is that the food, like it was like a lot of vegetarian food, and in general, like I feel like in my life I was raised a vegetarian, so I had always like struggled with like eating vegetarian food outside of my house. It was like McDonald's, I only eat fries because there's literally nothing else for like vegetarians, at least in Canada right now. And then now like vegetarian food is more like common, so there's a lot more places. But back then I felt like I don't know, vegetarian food was like not a big deal. So then it was like really easy to find food. Overall, like my whole month in Bali was just amazing. And then after Bali, we moved back to I moved back to Australia. She obviously came with me, and we found a place like near like the Opera House. It was like kind of pretty nice. Expensive, but since we were like splitting accommodation in two, it was like easier to afford. At this time, I found myself like struggling more finding a job because I couldn't go back to Louis Vuitton because like they were like, well, we're not gonna take you back for the rest of the month that we have like left with us. It's not good for the company pretty much. So then like on my visa, I had 3 months left of like work that I could do in Australia. So we got back in like March, and then I had like 3 months left on my visa. So during my interviews, I started lying because I noticed that every time I said, "Oh yeah, I only have like 2 months left on my visa, I'm looking for a job," they would just shut me down. I'm like, okay, well, I need to start lying. And I was like, hey, so I have 6 months. So because 6 months is what you can work for, right? So I went to like some interviews. I got hired at a health food store, and then I was like in my probation stage. But then I guess like the lady didn't like the work that I was doing, so I got fired. And then when I got fired, that hit me hard. It was the very first time I've ever gotten fired in my life, because I consider myself like a hard worker. So it came as a shock that someone didn't like the work that I was doing. And I got fired, and I remember like it was kind of close to the apartment that we were living at the moment. So I remember walking home, and I started crying because I was like, wow, like this is shitty. Like it sucks that I don't know, to get fired, and I was like struggling like finding a job. I'm like, like I was like worrying about things like, oh, okay, I have to pay rent, like I'm gonna have to, even though I had savings, like I was still worried. Like I only have 3 months. Like what if I don't get a job? I was like stressing a lot. But then luckily I found 2 jobs. So one of the jobs I was doing, I was like selling raffle tickets pretty much, and the money was going towards the Australian veteran. And then another job was I was selling boots. I don't know if you know R.M. Williams, the brand. It's an Australian brand. It's like kind of like Blundstone. You know Blundstones, right? No boots.
No.
No.
Don't think so.
No. Okay. Well,
terrible, right?
it's okay. Well, R.M. Williams is actually owned by Louis Vuitton as well.
Okay.
So then, like, it was kind of easier to get the job at Iron Williams because it's kind of like under it's a branch, right?
Yeah.
So then you already have experience with Louis Vuitton. We know you're a good worker, blah blah. We'll hire you. And then they thought they hired me for 6 months. Obviously, they hired me for 3 months. And then I got hired at the airport location because they were opening up a location at the airport in Australia.
Okay.
And then I was like, to save some money because I think transportation is very expensive in Australia.
Yeah.
And if I were to take the train to the airport, I think it was $27 just because it's the airport.
Yeah.
So I decided to buy a bike, and I would bike to the airport from the city area, and it would take me about an hour and a half. And sometimes my shift they would start kind of early, 7. So I would wake up pretty early, 4 a.m. Get ready, and then trying to get to the airport. And I liked it. It was nice. But then I did during my training, I had to train in one of the city locations, and I got along with the owner the manager of that store, and he was like, I want to have you on my team. You're the type of person I want to have. I'm like, well, talk to I don't know, your boss so I can get transferred over. He's like, okay. So I got transferred over to the city, so I didn't have to bike anymore, which was nice.
That's awesome.
I would just walk. Yeah, I would just walk 20 minutes, and then I'll get to my destination.
So what did you do with the bike?
Then,
did you sell it?
Sorry?
Did you sell the bike?
Yeah. No. I didn't sell the bike. I was still use it to do grocery shopping and stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And I only pay $100 for it. So I used it until I remember at some point the tires was getting kind of flat, and then I was whatever. But then I didn't tell. I don't know what happened
until it was used.
I think I left it locked outside of the apartment. I don't know.
Oh no.
But yeah.
Oh, you'll have to see when you next go, if you ever go back to Australia, if it's still there.
Yeah,
you should make it a mission.
Yeah, definitely. I'll probably stop by see if it's still there. But yeah, so I did that for the next few months. And I think, for example, working with the raffle ticket, it was very challenging because what I was doing is I was going to shopping centers, and I just have a kiosk, and I have to approach people. And I think even though I haven't always been an introvert, I guess I go back and forth. Sometimes a little bit of an extrovert, sometimes I'm in the middle, or sometimes I'm just very close by.
Yeah.
So I guess approaching people was it wasn't that hard, but then I think what was hard is getting all the no's. It's no, I'm not interested. It's getting the people's attention that was hard, right? I think I learned a lot, and I think especially learned how to take no's well, I guess.
Yeah.
Just because obviously everyone wants a yes.
Yeah.
Right? I think especially kids nowadays with parents that just give them everything. They are raised a certain way where they're not denying anything in their life as they're growing up, and I think that's a very bad habit.
Yeah.
Because once you start saying no to them, they'll throw a tantrum. And even though that wasn't the case for me when I was growing up, I still it would be hard to just be kind of decline and just keep getting no's from people oh no, I'm not interested, no, go away, blah blah blah.
It's funny you say that. We read a book. Have you ever read The Man Who Wanted to Be Happy?
No, I haven't.
It's a really good book. You should definitely look into it. It's about, he's in Bali. He's about to leave Bali, and then he goes and sees...
He's like a guru.
He's a guru. But his guru one day for one of his tasks sends him out. You know this better than me, so you're probably better off.
Well, he sends him out and says, try and get an answer that is no.
Try and get as many no's as you can, or it's something like that. It just reminds me of what you're saying, and it was just is it no's or yeses?
No, he's trying to get no's, but the whole point is it's most people can't just say outright no, to the questions that you if you ask somebody for help, chances are they're not going to say no. They're not going to say yes, but they might say how about this? I've got a compromise for you. But I guess in your scenario, it was more like you were trying to sell these tickets, and then people were just like,
yeah,
nope.
Yeah,
try and get yourself a yes.
No.
And you had the opposite. You had to try and get a yes. And I guess like
exactly
in that scenario, even though maybe like you're just for you it's work, you're trying to get these tickets sold. Maybe you don't necessarily mind that you don't sell a load of tickets, but you're trying to get some money. But I guess like even in that scenario, if you're always getting told no, that's just gonna have an effect on like you elsewhere in your life, because you're like, why do I keep getting rejected? Even though
like you start to think, you start to get self-conscious, like, oh, like, what am I doing wrong? Like, is it me? Like, do I look weird? Like, do I have something on my face? Or like, telling people no? Like,
what are you like these days? Like, if someone approaches you in the street, do you stop and like hear them out?
Do you feel for them?
Or are you like, nah, I know what you're doing?
I think that when it came to the raffle tickets, the money you would give would go towards like donation, right? And then you would get a raffle ticket, so you get a chance to either win a car, win a house, blah blah blah. But then at the same time, I think that people who are really willing to help others, they're not going to be stopped on the street and be like, oh, come help someone. No, they're going to approach these people. They're going to approach like the companies. They want to approach wherever they want to donate their money to, right? So, like, I'm not saying I don't want to like support like some places, but like I have said no to like people who come up to me. But then I tend to be like nicer than what people were towards me. I'll be like, oh no, like appreciate it, thank you, you have a good day, that type of thing. Because like people are rude. People are like they're. I mean, everyone has their own problems. Like everyone goes about their own day, but yeah, I've got some like really negative answers from like some people. I was like, oh, ouch. But see, like I think getting like such negative answers like also like taught me to like, well, I'm not gonna take their answer like personally. Like even though I'm getting rejected over and over again, the whole like rejection, it's like you get used to it. So at the end of the day, you're like, oh, like it's actually not that bad. But so when you do get a yes, you're like, oh, amazing. So then it's like the worst case scenario now. It's like I get a no. So
it's a good lesson to learn.
So yeah, I guess like after you find out how like being rejected is, it's like, oh well, it's not a big deal. Like that was the worst case scenario.
It's funny. This is resonating. What you've just said there is resonating with a podcast that we did with Hannah just the other week. I don't know if you saw. We did a podcast with her from Hannah from Bali. And she was saying the exact same thing. Even obviously it's slightly different, but she was when she first started showing her jewelry to places, to shops and that. The worst thing she could get was a no, but it was actually one of the best things that she could get. So it's just resonating. That it's funny that you're saying that.
And like I think that so many people are afraid of that rejection.
Yes.
I think they like see that rejection or seeing that no like it's such a big deal. Where like it's like it doesn't get any worse than that, you know. Like for example, I believe for like Hannah, if she's like trying to show her like jewelry and like her malas, like that's the worst. Like getting rejected, is like the worst thing that is gonna happen.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like for every what did they tell us? I think it's like for every 100 no's that you get one yes.
Yeah.
So.
But it's
worth asking 100 times.
Yeah, exactly. It's worth it. I think that even getting that yes, sometimes like make my day and just give me like a boost of energy to even keep going and get me into like a positive mindset. And I think just through that one yes would like change, I guess, how I was approaching people, because I would come off more positive. Therefore, I could even start getting more yeses and less no's. Yeah. Right?
So cool.
So it's definitely worth it to, go through 99 no's in one yes.
Yeah.
I guess also like doing it for, obviously you were doing it for a charity, so like it's, it does matter and it is important. But the fact that you've if you've done it for something that isn't necessarily just for you, like being able to then actually do it for something that's potentially for you makes it even easier. You know, obviously, like I said, a charity is so important, so it's not like it didn't mean anything, but it just makes it that little bit more easier to then
matter to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Which is really, really cool.
Very true.
Really good way to get into it.
Yeah. Like the charity part, like I think it was really amazing because like I wasn't just only bringing food to my table, but I was like also helping out people who needed that food on their table.
Yeah.
Right. So it was like very like rewarding doing that job, and I'm glad I was able to do that. Like I said, it taught me a lot. And I think I did this for the next 3 months, working 2 jobs. And the only thing I found myself with in these 3 months in Australia was that I fell into a routine. I fell into routine in general, like in my whole life, even in my relationship life. And because I would just wake up, go to work, sometimes work twice a day, double shift.
Yeah.
Go from one job to another, and then go home, eat, and I'd be exhausted from my day. Sleep, wake up, go to work.
Yeah.
And I remember at the beginning for the trainings for the Iron Williams, for that company. I guess you wouldn't dress kind of fancy, but semi-casual. And I remember taking the train, and then I would just look around. Everyone's in this fancy suit. Everyone's on the phones, walking around, and it felt like it wasn't life. It felt like I was in a simulation type of thing, in the sense that everyone's doing the same thing. No one's doing anything different. Everyone kind of look the same, dress the same, look down on the phones the same way. It was are they robots? It was actually kind of mind blowing. I was I told myself that I was I do not want to be them when I grow up. I remember telling that as I was walking, because even though I was kind of dressed kind of casually, I kind of still fell into that category because of what I was doing, because of the routine that I was falling into. And it was it was scary to kind of see where life could get you. And I'm sure these people may be happy and probably are making tons of money, but
it wasn't for you.
I mean, that's not the goal for everyone, obviously. It just it was kind of crazy and scary at the same time. So after that, what happened? Let's see.
When did you?
After
so you
that,
left Australia, right?
Sorry.
You left Australia when your year came to the end.
Yes, I left Australia, and later on you'll see how my story's kind of tied in, which is very interesting. So we'll get there. So in the moment I was in Australia, and then I overstayed my visa for 2 or 3 days because I found very, very cheap flights a few days after my visa expired. So then I called the government. I was like, hey, I'm breaking the law, but is this okay? They're like, yeah, as long as you're flying out, it should be fine. I'm like, okay, cool. So then my plan was, when I travel, what I try to do is what's the best way I can spend the less money. So I look for really cheap flights, especially when it comes to flights. I try to look for stops in between my destination. So in this case, I'm flying to Canada, and then in between Australia and Canada, I looked at the islands, Fiji, Hawaii, and then I found really cheap tickets to Hawaii. It's $250, and then one way, I'm okay, cool. So then I try to see who do I know in Hawaii, or trying to find people that I might know in Hawaii. And then my mom, she has a friend who has a condo in Hawaii, and she was like, I'll rent you out the condo for $1,000 for 2 weeks. And Canadian, this is Canadian money.
Yeah.
So it's super cheap.
Okay.
And then I'm cool, so $1,000. So I'm gonna get some friends to come to Hawaii from Canada,
so cool.
And I got 3 of my best friends to meet me in Hawaii. And we were there for 2 weeks, and we had a blast.
That's awesome.
I think yesterday I saw two of my friends that I went to Hawaii with, and then we was talking about Hawaii, how every time we like drove down like the highway, like the sun would be down, and there's this song by Calvin Harris. Oh, I forget the name of it, but the song was like playing in the background, and then it was just so nice. I'm like, yeah, take us back to Hawaii. But we had such a great time. So after Hawaii, I obviously like bought my ticket to Canada, came back to Canada, and then.
So when was this? What year is this? How long ago was
this was. So I got back to Canada in 2017.
Okay.
At the moment I turned 20, so I was 20.
Okay.
And so I got back to Canada, and then my girlfriend and I, who was seeing at the moment, we broke up. I think just because the whole routine we fell on to, I guess things just weren't working out for the both of us. So we decided to like split ways, and then.
How did you get from there to Bali 2019? Like, when did yoga come into your life? When did all that kind of happen?
It's about to come.
I'm about to get there. So 2017, I get to Canada. And then not gonna lie, the whole like breakup kind of like got me a little depressed. So then, throughout the next months, I got hired at the restaurant that I'm working at right now.
Okay.
So I've been working there for quite some time.
On and off.
And then, on and off because I'm traveling.
Yeah.
And it was like they were very flexible with me because it was just a serving job, so it's like nothing serious, like nothing to like. I didn't have much responsibility, right? And as a server, at least in Canada, you make pretty good money because you're getting minimum wage, and then you're getting you tips on top of that. So I was able to make pretty good money, save money. I'm living with my parents. It's it's like I was saving money, so that was nice. And then so I went through like this kind of like depression stage where it was like the very first time I experienced depression in my life. Like when I look back before that, like my life was. I was pretty happy. Like, I don't know. I never experienced any depressive like thoughts. So I guess experiencing depression like really like taught me how like other people like actually do feel. And like I think I would like have or like make like I joke around a lot about so many things, and I guess I coped with a lot of things by joking around.
Yeah.
So then I would like joke around depression and those types of things, but I came to realize, like, I know after experiencing that wasn't okay, and I think there's like people out there who still do that, and some people don't know better, but here I'm telling you, you know better, don't do it. So then after that, I started working out, so I got into the gym because I was like, I want to get fit, look good, be healthy, type of thing. And so life went on, working out, working my job. Then I was like, hey, I want to travel again. Like, I'm ready to travel. And this was around February. So my ex-girlfriend, she had gone to Costa Rica to a place called Finca Villavista, which is a treehouse community.
Yes, I remember you telling me about that, and I looked into it, and I was like, okay.
Like good. I remember so it's a place you go to volunteer, and how it works is that you pay, I think it's $500, and then they give you accommodation and food, and all you have to do is kind of like talk to the guests and take the guests to the tree houses, because some of these tree houses, they're about like an hour away, like the farthest one. So it's like a little bit of a hike, but the hike is not even that bad. Yeah. So I'm trying to think of like the place that it's called, because I don't want to message my ex-girlfriend at the moment and be like, oh, like, what was the place to volunteer at? Eventually I found it, and I went there in March. I got there March 2nd, and it was very easy to get there just because I speak Spanish. Costa Rica is a Spanish-speaking country, so getting around was very easily. I looked like a local, so it wasn't a big deal. Then I got to Finca Villavista, and when I got there, like I remember literally walking through like the entrance of it, I got the same feeling I had when I was in Bali, where like your soul feels like it belongs there. Like, you feel at home, even though it's a place you've never been to, and it's literally in the middle of the jungle. Like I took this little 4x4 car who took me up this hill. It was like off road. you're literally in the middle of the jungle. And then we have the base camp, and beside the base camp, you have like the volunteer house where like all the volunteers stay.
Mm-hmm.
So I got there in March, and I loved it. So it was very interesting because all the food over there was, I think 75% of it was like grown within the community.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
And then the rest, like 25%, was like bought from other farms, like outside of the community.
That's really cool.
So everything that I was eating at the moment was like, very, very healthy, like no GMOs, like very natural, like whole food type of thing. And I noticed that had a big impact, like on my body.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna sound kind of funny, but like I remember like I would like kind of like fart, but my farts wouldn't smell. And then like I think just the way that I was like feeling in general, I was like very energetic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like feeling pretty amazing, and I was like, wow, like that's when I realized the impact that food has in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the quality of food that you're eating, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. 1000%.
Yeah, like I remember you telling me in Bali that that you're a big fan of food, and like you have to make your own food.
Yeah.
You're very picky and you like to eat healthy, so I'm sure you can definitely relate.
Yes, we definitely can. Definitely.
And so then I stayed there for a month, and in this community, every morning they did yoga. So then this is kind of like when I got introduced to yoga. At the very beginning, like I guess when I did it, I was like, oh, like I'm working out, like I'm good, like I'm pretty strong, blah, blah. And I remember like I was in like downward dog, and like teacher would come to me, she's like, no, you can do it like this. And then I'll be like kind of embarrassed. I was like, oh, like I'm not doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
So the very beginning, I guess I didn't have such a great experience with like yoga. And then like I didn't do it every morning. I would just do it like every like once in a while throughout the month. And then I decided to stay an extra month because originally I was only going to stay there for a month. And actually, after that month, I was supposed to go to Greece because my friend, she's a flight attendant. And she got me tickets to go to Greece with her and like another friend.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, let's go to Greece. So I gave up Greece to stay for another month in Costa Rica because I just fell in love with this place.
Yeah.
And I don't know, for some people, like it's like, oh, like, are you crazy? Like, like Greece is, I'm sure, like, I haven't been to Greece yet, but I'm sure like Greece is beautiful.
Yeah.
And to like give it up for like, I don't know, living in the middle of the jungle, like some people are like, oh, weird.
Yeah.
But it's what my heart told me at the moment. So I did it, and I stayed for another month, and then I met a friend of mine her name is Iona. She's a yoga teacher from Australia. And then she's amazing. Like she would teach like some of the classes over there because she got there in the second month. And then it was like 4 of us like volunteering, and then during April was like very slow. So it was a very chill time. But all we would do is like kind of like go on hikes, explore the jungle, find some waterfalls because there was like a river right by the community. And we just had such a great time there. After Costa Rica, I came back to Canada. I came back to Canada, and then I met someone else. So then at this time, like I guess I got a girlfriend, and she's like telling me how like her family wants to go to Hawaii, and they have like an extra ticket because like someone else got canceled. So I went with them. I went on a trip to Hawaii. Amazing. Like this like thing after thing. It was like cool. I'll just go with it.
Yeah.
And I remember she was like telling me on the first date that her family loves to go to Hawaii. And then I was like, in my head, I was like, oh, interesting. I could like hop in one of the trips. That was really my thought. Then next time I'm going to Hawaii with them. The whole trip was amazing.
That's so cool.
We went to like Honolulu, which is like where I had already been. So overall, like I had an amazing time in Hawaii. After that, I get back to Canada. Like I'm pretty much just like working for the next few months, and then the Treehouse community, they call me. They're like, hey Daniel, like we're looking for another volunteer because we just look for a bartender. Like, do you want to come back and you can become +1? I'm like, okay, like I think I can do that. So for the month of November, I did that, and I brought my mom with me.
Oh, nice.
I took my mom to the middle of the jungle, and my mom, like when she got there, she was like, wow, like she was like kind of like thrown off. She's like, this is really where you brought me, type of thing.
Yeah.
And then after she like really experienced like the whole jungle of it, the jungle aspect, and the whole area, she really liked it. She fell in love. Like she fell in love with like the jungle. Oh, and another thing about living in the jungle is like the animals.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many animals, so many insects. In Costa Rica, there's a snake, which is like one of like the most like dangerous snakes in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I know the name in like how they call it in Costa Rica. It's called like, terciopelo. And then it was definitely in the community. I saw a few of them.
Wow.
Apparently, like you have like probably like 15 to 30 minutes to get the dose, or else you die.
Oh yeah, I think I've heard about because aren't they in Australia as well? Are they in Australia? I want to say that they have them in Australia as well.
Probably. I mean,
I have heard of it that you have like 30 minutes to
get the
shot. Otherwise,
Oh man,
that's terrifying.
that is terrifying.
But I mean, it's an experience.
But you know, like I think so. Living in the jungle like definitely like challenges you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're definitely stepping out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
You're stepping out of your daily city life. Mm-hmm. You come into a community full of like such like nice people, and you use the language barrier with the people who work there. Mm-hmm. So like you're definitely not in your comfort zone at all. Mm-hmm. And I remember even like sleeping at night. My first few nights sleeping at the like in the jungle, I got so scared because I would like hear like things on the roof, and I would like hear, I don't know why, I always like hear flip flops walking outside the volunteer house, and it's like just your mind playing games with you, but like it was like kind of like just little animals like walking around. I think there were like some like night monkeys playing on the roof and like scratching the roof. I was scared to death like my first few nights. Not gonna lie, it was very scary.
I remember, like, it reminds me of the first night in Bali, and I'd never heard a gecko before, and I was so homesick on the first night. It was late, I was tired, and I remember just laying there, and suddenly I heard the gecko noise. Right, it's like the weirdest thing, and until you know what it is, it's like, what was that? And I freaked out so much. I like just burst into tears. Like, what was that? And then eventually, when I found out, when we like eventually spoke about it in the classes and stuff, it was funny. But when the first time you hear it, it's just like,
question everything.
What? Like,
and they're pretty loud too. Like, those like little geckos, they're so loud. And I don't like the noise they make. It's kind of cute. It's like,
yeah, it's so sweet. But so I can only imagine like Costa Rica, like literally in a full jungle. That's nuts. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was like definitely like it was scary, but then you get used to it. You get, I guess, used to being that uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then I think the whole like thing about being scared is because you don't know what's out there. It's like kind of the unknown that it's scary.
Yeah.
Right? But like once you find out that, like the things that are around you and like the unknown is not so unknown anymore, I guess that fear goes away.
Yeah.
And then like I got pretty comfortable with the jungle afterwards. Like I was able to even just walk at night with just like the flashlight, and I would be fine. I even went on a night hike with one of the locals. He took me on a night hike with the other volunteers, and oh my god, the things you don't see at night, that was scary.
Yeah.
Because like I saw like a scorpion, you saw tarantulas, you saw like vipers that like you don't see. They're just like hanging like around the plant.
Did you see any of the like glow up scorpions? The ones that you shine your light on at night and they're blue?
No, I did not see those. But I did see a scorpion, but not a glow up scorpion.
Yeah.
We saw like a wildcat. just like running through the trees.
Wow,
Yes,
that's insane.
Oh, and like behind like the community, like it's a mountain pretty much.
Yeah.
Behind the mountain, it's like a national park.
Mm-hmm.
So then apparently one time there was like there was not a tiger. There's no tiger. What's another animal?
Puma, jaguar,
a panther. I think it was a panther or something like that.
Yeah.
Came to the community, and they saw it. It was like, wow, it's pretty crazy.
That's
so it just like kind of tells you how much like wildlife there is.
Mm-hmm.
I saw an anteater. It was so cute.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's insane. It's funny, I've just looked on my phone real quick to see, because I remember when you told me about this place, and I had written it down in my notes, and I've just checked to see if I've still got it, and I have. On the 2nd of the 11th, 2019, I wrote down the place. What is it? Is it Finca? Finca?
Yeah, Finca.
Bella Vista.
Finca. Yeah,
and
that's right.
I've literally, it's here in my notes, and I've obviously kept it there for a reason. So just hearing about it all now, like maybe like needs to be checked out again a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think Costa Rica should be like one of the destinations anyone should go and check out.
Yeah, I mean I've been. I went the summer 2018, I think it was. And I've always said to Ben, like, I'm going to take him because it was incredible.
Yeah.
And it really is magical.
It is, yeah.
You know, rumor
and if
has
you get to the chance, you know, if you're staying for like over a month, definitely check out the place, like Finca de Vista.
No,
definitely. And you get a discount because you're a yoga teacher.
Oh,
so
sweet.
then I think you pay like half price because you'll be teaching classes, and it's like an extra like curriculum.
Yeah.
An extra like volunteer thing you would do. So I think you pay $250 instead of $500.
Wow.
So cool.
Good to know.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And so in November when I went, that's when I started getting more into yoga because I had this experience with yoga. I think we're doing bridge pose, and it was like towards like the end of the flow, and then I remember seeing like my body like smoking, like there was like steam coming out of my body, and then in my head I'm like, how does this make sense? Like it's 30 degrees outside, like my body's really warm, yet like it has to be cold out in order for you to see steam, right? But for example, if I were to go outside right now, and like I would able to see like the steam from my breath. So then I was like really weirded out by like the whole steam. So then I like went to ask the teacher, and then she was like, oh, like sometimes our energy may take that physical form, especially after like such an intense like workout. It depends like how much like you push yourself. So then it's like the energy like, kind of like flowing through chakras, and then it materializes into steam. I was like, wow, that's so interesting. And after like the next month, I felt high on life. Like I literally felt just high on life. Like life was amazing. Everything would seem to be like a lot brighter, like more colorful. I don't know how to explain it. I felt amazing. So then after that experience, I was like, wow, I want to feel like this for the rest of my life.
Yeah. So
then I started like doing yoga more often, and then like the more I did it, the more I liked it. I started getting into like headstand, into like inversions. So I was like, oh, this is so cool. And then afterwards, I set myself a goal. Like I was like, if I'm able to touch my toes, because before I couldn't touch my toes, I was like, if I'm able to touch my toes within the next 6 months, I'm gonna do that training. I'm gonna become a yoga teacher because I want to teach people like what I'm experiencing right now.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
I want people to feel the way I do. And you know, just within a few months, I was able to touch my toes. I'm like, oh my God, like, okay, so we're gonna do this. And then I'm looking online. I'm like, okay, trying to find like places to do my yoga training. Yeah. There was a lot of places here in Calgary, but again, they're like so expensive because I don't know why they're so expensive. I think they're like $5,000, $3,000.
Yeah, I feel like they're similar prices to places. I mean, at least for us in the UK, like I don't know, it might be slightly different for Canada, but it's the same price here or in places like Bali, where it's actually where it actually comes from, or even India. So it's like, if you're gonna spend that money anyway, you may as well go to where it comes from.
100%, yeah. And that was literally my thought. I'm like, I see, I'll be paying like $4,000 for a yoga training here, and I'll be at home.
Yeah.
Or after being in Bali,
yeah,
and I pay like $5,000. Like, I'd rather be in Bali. So then,
and you're doing a downward dog with a view of the rice fields rather than a downward dog with the view of the building and brick wall.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, it was a no-brainer, right? Like, I'm gonna go to Bali again, and that was the other thing. I was like, I really like Bali. I want to go back there.
Yeah.
Like, I wanna go back there and experience what I haven't experienced, I guess. And then throughout this time, I forgot to mention, I was like studying nutrition, because after the whole Costa Rican thing, like the how the food like impacted like me and my life, I started studying nutrition just for like my own sake.
Yeah.
Just because I wanted to like learn more and everything. So yeah, just wanted to throw that in.
No, that's cool. I think that's really cool. I think really cool. It all aligns as well, like especially nutrition and yoga.
Definitely it all interconnects for sure. So then during this time, I remember I paid for the training with my credit card, and I'm like, okay. So I think I had like 8 months. I'm like, okay, time to save some money. And then my girlfriend at the time, she also liked to travel. So then she was like, oh, like after the training, we're gonna go travel around like Asia. I'm like, yes, definitely, let's do it. We budget about $10,000 like to be in Asia for like 3 months, and then we plan to go to like Bali. So after the training, we would go to like Singapore, we would go to like Malaysia, and kind of just like make our way up, go to the Philippines, then Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, like to all these places. And our last destination was Japan. And then from Japan, we'd come back to Canada. Like, we had everything planned out. And we were able to like, make the money that we needed for the travels. So I come to Bali, I go to Bali, and then I did my yoga training. And I think it was just life-changing, the whole like yoga training itself. Because I think so many people think of the yoga training like, oh, you're just doing yoga for 30 days straight, that type of thing. I'm like, no, it's like you kind of become like a different person the way you like. Hello, sorry, did I cut off?
No, you're good.
You're still going?
Oh no, okay, sorry. The camera kind of froze. So, but yeah, so then I was saying that you kind of just become a different person.
Yeah.
Because of everything that you kind of like learn and all the things you haven't like kind of dealt with that you kind of just like pushed away, everything comes back up in the training, right? Whatever like trauma we've had or whatever bad experience you've gone through in your life, like it will come up. You will cry. People were telling me, oh, Daniel, you're going to cry during your training. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm fine. I get to the training, I'm crying on the second day.
Oh,
with like Dasmar, like during the Dasmar.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I think I cried so much doing that. We're like sitting like face to face, and then I remember this like I said it was yesterday. So we're sitting face to face, we're looking into each other's like eyes.
Yeah.
And then Hannah,
Shri.
She was like saying that that picture someone that you love. Picture and then picture yourself.
Yeah.
And then they were like, picture someone that you love again. So then I think when that happened to me, like first of all, like I tried to like picture myself into her face, and then her face kind of like tries to like form into my face. And then she was like, picture someone that you love. So I pictured like my girlfriend. And then when she was like, picture someone that you love again, I saw myself, but it was like kind of like my soul. And then I noticed how like starved my soul had been, like because I think like the soul feeds out of like not materialistic things, obviously, but out of like good things that you do for yourself and for your body. And I feel like I had forgotten like how to take care of myself and my own soul for a while. And I think coming to that training like made me realize that how like starved my soul was. And that's why I started crying, and because I felt sorry for my soul,
Mm-hmm.
and it was weird because like it was kind of like seeing like another thing, but like it was myself. So yeah, definitely the training. That was the second day.
Yeah.
So that was the second day of training.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very interesting. So after training happened, I think I became a lot more like sensitive, a lot more emotional, a lot more in touch with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time my girlfriend came to Bali, I think we were just like in different vibrations and different frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
And we just kept clashing. Like for like the next like 2 weeks, we kept clashing. Like we kept fighting, arguing. Like nothing was like really working out between us. So then we decided to like break up, and then all of our like plans for the next 6 months just poof, out the window. And then
this is when I remember. This is when I contacted you again. Well, not, like I remember the last time we kind of spoke was around that time, and I remember like asking you like, how are the travels, because you told me all about it. It's like, how is, like, where are you now, how's it going? And then your response was like, they're off and I'm actually in a completely different place. And it was just like, what? Like, oh.
And I'll tell you how I got well, like, so all of my plans out the window, correct? So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stay in Bali for another month. And because that was like my original plan, to stay in Bali for another month of the training, and I was like able to experience like so many new things I didn't experience the very first time that I came to Bali. And then this is when I started to stay in like hostels, to like, you know, get to know people, like meet people, because I noticed that me as an introvert staying in Airbnbs, like you don't meet a lot of people with yourself in a room. So I started staying in hostels, and I met some amazing people, went on like amazing trips. And overall, like I just had a great time in Bali, but obviously my time was coming to an end because you only have like a 1 month visa in Bali, right? So then I'm like looking throughout this time, I'm like looking for jobs on Yoga Trade. And I'm like looking for jobs, like I'm like applying in Spain, like all over Europe, because you know it'd be cool to go to Europe. I'm like applying in Thailand. And then, if you guys remember, the yoga teacher Iona from Costa Rica, she's from Australia. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna message Iona. I messaged Iona. I'm like, hey Iona, like I know you're working in a yoga studio. Any chance the yoga studio is like hiring? And she's like, yeah, definitely. I'll give you like Haley's information. She's the owner of the studio, and you can get in contact with her. I'm like, amazing. So I start talking to Haley. She's like, yeah, like pretty much what you would do, you'd be a volunteer here. And she kind of walked me through the whole like position. And I could teach yoga, and I could also I would like clean because she had like Airbnbs on the side.
Okay.
So she had like a little like retreat type of center. So I'm like, yeah, you know, like I'm definitely down for that. Like I have no problem. So then I booked my flights to go to Australia, and then I'm still applying at other places because I'm like, I'm only going to be in Australia for 3 months. Like I still want to travel a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I remember on Yoga Trade, I came along this ecological center in Hawaii, and it's called Kirpal Ecological Center. And Kirpal, like I guess if we're gonna talk about my religion and tackle like my spiritual life, Kirpal, he's like a master from India, and these masters, they follow lineage. So we believe in reincarnation, and after a master dies, another master will rise. And when I say masters, I also mean like teachers. Yeah, it's pretty much like people who teach you about, you know, lessons in life and how to go about with your spiritual life. So then Kirpal, like when I saw his name, I was like, oh wow, like it is actually like, I don't know, it's like part of my like not lineage but like religion. So I was like in shock, kind of like when I found it, and then I scrolled down and there was a quote from Kirpal. I don't exactly remember what it said, but it said something along the lines where if you take a step towards me, I'll take 1,000 steps towards you. And then I just like started like crying like so much because I was going through a breakup with like I was going through a breakup. I was like alone in Bali, and I came across this like quote from him, and I'm like, wow, like I realized this is where I was meant to be in my life within that moment. So I'm just like, I'm crying, but I'm like, like it feels good. It was like a good cry because I knew that even though I didn't have anything planned, I knew I was exactly where it was meant to be. So I'm like, I apply and they're like, yeah, we don't need you right now. We need you until March. And I'm like, that is perfect because I went to Australia in the end of December, right before New Year's. And then I have a 3-month visa, which ends in March.
That's awesome. As a tourist. So meant to be.
Yeah. So it's like, even though I didn't plan it, it was like a really plan for me.
Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So then I'm like, okay, so that's the plan. So I go to Australia. And when I get to Australia, I get stopped at the border for like a customs. Because my overstay visa from like a few years ago.
Oh, no way.
Yes, they took my phone. They were like, we need to go through your phone. Like, what are you doing in Australia? Because I think they're thinking that I'm there to like stay, permanently.
Yeah, of course.
And then they go through my whole like backpack. They go through everything. They're like, what are you doing here? Tell us everything, kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, like I'm just here to like volunteer, blah 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 blah. And they're like, you're not allowed to volunteer. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, as a tourist, you're here to tour around. You're not here to like work or anything. If you're gonna be here, you cannot volunteer.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, like I'm so sorry, like I didn't know this. He's like, do you have a place to stay? I was like, well, not really. Like I was like thinking to just go to like my friend, well, like Haley's like place, and she was gonna provide me with accommodation as I volunteer. And she was like, well, you're not allowed to do that. You need to text Haley. And they went through like my messages with her, so like they knew everything. You need to tell Haley that you cannot volunteer for her, and if we find you volunteering in Australia, we will kick you out.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, I saw my whole world crash there.
Yeah.
I was like, no. I was like, what am I gonna do? So I'm at the airport. I start crying again. And then at this point, I'm like, I like crying now because, I think crying is like, it's the only way that your emotions come to, like, not life, but like, to a physical form towards tears.
It must have been so hard as well, going from 3-4 weeks of, yoga teacher training where you're out of the kind of crazy, busy, hectic world in this incredible kind of soft, magical, like, just world that you never want to leave, and then suddenly you're thrown back out into this world, but not only just thrown out, you're thrown out with all this other stuff just happens. It must have been so hectic.
It was like, I think, Bali overall, it's a very like transforming island. And then I think if you're not ready for the transformation, you're going to have a hard time in Bali. That's what I personally think. So like you're going to go through some challenging things in Bali or just generally in life or after Bali. And I think that's what I was going through. I was going through that transformation, and life kept like throwing like things at me. So it was definitely difficult, like you said, going from, it felt like a magical world being in a yoga training, and we were like kind of like isolated from everything, to like going back to like the real world, if you can say. But then I called Haley, and I'm like, hey, Haley, this is what happened at customs. Like, what should I do? She's like, don't worry, just come here. We'll figure something out. I'm like, okay, thank you so much. Take a bus. I get there, and then I meet Haley. She is a business owner of Primalaya, and Primalaya stands for a place of love in Sanskrit. And then she tells me that she's pretty much like, she's a mom of like 4 kids.
Yeah.
She wanted, it's a multi-million-dollar business. And her husband, he worked in the mines. Well, at the time he did. So then he wasn't like around as much. He would come like for a week and then leave for like 3 weeks type of thing. So she's like, yeah, like I'll probably need to like, babysit and like take care of the kids. Even though like these kids, they they're pretty independent, so they don't really need like anyone babysitting. But so I got there, and she's like, "Don't worry, like it's gonna be okay.
Awesome.
This has happened in the past with other volunteers."
Mm-hmm.
They told me they're gonna they told me, like customs told me they were gonna come like snooping around to see if I was there. And then she was like, we're gonna try to keep you like out of like any type of like paper, so you're not gonna have to sign anything. So they do come and ask, you just staying here because you're my friend.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, okay, cool.
Sweet.
So then, yeah, she's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
She's really amazing. And so then I started my volunteer job with her. I started teaching yoga there. My very first yoga job after my training.
Yeah.
I felt so lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think my travels, like my past travels, brought me there. But Costa Rica was the reason why I ended up in Australia.
Yeah.
Because if I did not stay an extra month in Costa Rica doing the volunteer job, I wouldn't have met Iona, which led me to meeting Haley. So it's like I don't know. There's like so many like dots that like just connect later on, and I just. Like, I don't know if I got lucky and then it just really worked out for me. Like,
well, you also put yourself out there. Like, you know, if you hadn't decided to go to Costa Rica in the first place and then to stay there extra month, you wouldn't have.
Yeah.
Like, if you had just kind of been like, no, I said a month, now I have other plans to go. If you hadn't followed your heart and decided to stay in Costa Rica like you did, then
that is true.
So you put yourself out there.
Yeah, because I had the chance to go to Greece, right?
Yeah.
And I was going to Greece. Yeah, I was supposed to go to Greece, but, you know, I did follow my heart, like you're right. And I think this is, like, where like, I realized how, you know, following my own intuition, my own instinct, my heart, how far, like, it got me, you know. And it's, like, definitely something people, like, struggle with just because they might not be in touch with themselves. But, you know, when you do follow your heart, like, and you don't, I mean, worries does come because you're always going to be like worried about like what's going to happen. But once you like let yourself, like I said, like this is how things are, trust the universe, you like everything will line up for you in a similar way that it lined up for me. You know, so I do feel like pretty lucky because after those 3 months in Australia, I think I just started to become like a better person, not a better person, but like a different version of myself. And I started getting into like handstands, and I started getting more into inversions. I was like practicing like 2 or 3 hours a day. And then that's where like, I guess I had a passion for yoga, but then I found passion in inversions. And I was just like, I guess infatuated with the whole being upside down. It was amazing. It gave me a different perspective of like what it's like being on your hands or like upside down because we're always on our feet.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. So it was like very interesting. And then I think I had to step into a parental role when I was in Australia because Haley, she was like, "Oh, you can reprehend my kids whichever way you like to. Like I trust you. You seem like a very kind person, so I know." If you were to reprehend my kid, you would do it the right way. So in a way, I had to like step into a parental role, which was really amazing in the sense that I personally like if I were to have kids, I never like I don't care if I have kids or not. Like whenever I thought about having kids, it's like if I have kids, great. If I don't, great. Like it's not a big deal for me. But stepping into that parental role like taught me how to get kind of be a parent or like the closest thing to be a parent. And obviously there were like cases where, you know, like the kids were kind of swear at each other and I had to like step in and like, you know, like, no, you're not allowed to do this. Like, you're not allowed to talk to your sister like that. I'm going to tell your mom. And so like, they were like start crying. And I think the hardest part was like thinking that they would like hate you.
Yeah.
Because like, I think like as you get older, you do start to, like you start to like hate people, right?
Yeah.
Not hate, but you know, you start to know like things about others.
Yeah.
But I think as a kid, that's not there. Like even though I would like be telling them these kids of like the bad things that we're doing, the next day they would just be fine with me. So I thought it was like kind of hard, like, oh, like, are they gonna hate me? Like, oh, they probably don't like me. Like, they think I'm being too like strict, or, you know, like I'm not being like a good friend to them. Maybe that's what I was like thinking. But at the same time, Haley, she was like, no, like it's very normal. Like, this kid, they just forget about it. Like, I think it's just part of their growing, and they'll realize that it's for their own good. You're so right. Like, it's just amazing. And this kid, like, if I were to have kids, I would want my kids to be like them, in the sense that they were so independent, and they were like walking around barefoot everywhere. And it's Australia, and we're like kind of like in the outback, like I don't know, like snakes and anything,
Yeah.
But then you see this, like, I remember her youngest daughter, her name is Inji, and then she was like, I think she was like 4 or 5, and she was like cooking like her own, not cooking, but like she would go in, make her own food as a 5-year-old. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And her 12-year-old daughter or 13-year-old daughter, she was a chef. Like, she would make meals for the volunteers.
Wow.
And like for me, for like
really
other
cool.
people that were living there.
Yeah.
And then there was Tioki, which she was like into horseback riding, and she would like just ride horses like without a harness or anything, like just like, I was really amazed, and I'm like, hey, like, is that okay? She's like, no, yeah, she does it all the time.
So cool.
I was like, I was literally shocked. And then there was Teal. There was like this kid. He just loved doing like kind of like parkour, doing backflips and front flips. I'm like, you're gonna break your neck. And he's like, no, I'm fine. I was like, what? And I don't know, but like, I think that many people have like a fear of the ocean. So, the ocean's the beach, and there would be some huge waves coming, and I'm like, that looks very scary. And I see all these little kids just going at it, getting like past, like smashed by these waves. I'm like, how are you guys doing this? And then they're like, no, come on, Daniel, with their like Australian accents, and I'm like, okay.
Fine, if you thumb us.
Yeah, exactly. And then after I got like, like hit by a few waves, like, I lost the fear of the ocean in a way, because I guess you realize that worst case scenario is I get like hit on, but like on the sand, like it wasn't even that bad, like it didn't hurt. So like, oh, this is fun. But then I like started going to the ocean a lot more, and then those kids helped me get over like a fear of like the ocean, and it was very like interesting how fearless these kids were. And like, I think we learned so much from like kids, because like, we grow up and we forget that I think we need to like be kids at the same time, like, even though we're like grown adults, like we still need to some way act like a kid in order to go through life. But so those were like my 3 months in Australia.
Wow.
And after that, I went to visit my cousin back in Sydney, because I was in Australia, so I made a stop there. And then from there, I did the same thing. I went from Sydney to Hawaii, and then I volunteered in Hawaii for a month, doing very similar jobs that I was like doing in Australia, which was teaching yoga, and then like cleaning like accommodations for other people, like guests. And then I was also doing some gardening, because this community, they grew their own food. So then I had to like garden and like kind of make like garden bed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did that in Hawaii, and then in Hawaii I met some really cool people. I met Cicely. She was the one who kind of introduced me to Ashtanga, and this woman, she would wake up every morning at like 4:30 a.m. to do her Ashtanga practice at 5 a.m. on the dot. Every morning. I'm like, the dedication like she had was like very admiring. I was like, wow. Like, she, like, I started to like wake up with her, but then not every day, like probably like twice a week, or like 3 times max, because I don't know, waking up that early is not that easy. Right?
Yeah, it is tough, sure.
especially to get out of a bed where you're so comfortable and to like go and do yoga, like you're like, no, I'd rather stay in bed. But she really did it. And then there was another yoga teacher who taught me how to do sound healing. Okay. So I don't know, have you guys heard of sound healing?
Yeah. It's with like the bowls and stuff, right?
That's right. So
that's awesome.
Her name is Sam, and Sam, she I think she has like a degree or like a master's in music, and but she has always like loved music in general. So she does like sound healing, and the way she explained it to me was that if you think about our bodies, when you break it down to its atoms, you notice that the atoms, they have a vibration.
Yeah.
So and then every vibration has a frequency. So in other words, you can say we're sound because we're vibrating through space right now.
Yeah.
We're going through a frequency, and each of us has a different frequency. So what sound healing does is that it puts into a theta state, I believe, which is a state where you're like asleep but you're awake.
Yeah.
And then through the sounds of the sound bowl, it helps you like tune in, like come back into your frequency, because life gets in the way, stress gets in the way, and many other things get in the way of like affecting the frequency that we usually vibrate in. So that's like the purpose of like sound healing. And she taught me how to do like a sound bath, which is not only sound bowls but like also other instruments.
Yeah,
so cool.
And it was amazing. And I think that's when I started getting to sound healing, and I started doing some sound baths to like other volunteers at the community. And
do you still do it now?
I actually did. I did a session 2 days ago.
Do you have them like with you? Like, do you have some?
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
Yes.
Sound healing is so cool.
Sound healing is awesome. The frequencies is so true.
Okay. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
I can hear you.
Yeah, okay, cool. So over here we have this is a crystal ball, and then this is tuned in with your sacral chakra. So I think at the beginning, like the way I would like start playing this was you kind of just hit it, and then you kind of like go around it, and then if you go this way, it's supposed to be for yourself. And if you're doing it for other people, you have to go
the other way. Oh wow!
Kind of clockwise. Yes.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. So then you kind of you play the instrument. And it plays pretty loud too.
Whoa.
Oh, it's so cool. Like, I think it's just so fascinating, and even just then,
it's beautiful.
Yeah, even just then, the sound was very kind of on and off and not very clear, but I could just the view that you hear is just like, it definitely like, so cool. I felt something, just through that. It's amazing.
It's I think these bowls they're magical. I think that when it comes to like a sound healing session, it's very interesting because I think the instruments come to life to me in the sense that they speak to me, because when I'm playing like a bowl, sometimes I have like multiple bowls. I also have a Tibetan bowl over here. And then sometimes, for example, the session that I just did 2 days ago, she had a few more bowls. So I had like 5-6 bowls in total, like I was like playing with. And the bowls, they speak to me. Like every instrument is like, come play me. So like I never have like let's say a sequence of, okay, I'm gonna play this instrument, then for example I have this guy over here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so like I never have a sequence of like how I'm gonna play every instrument. I was like kind of go and see what the instruments like want me to play them. Like I don't know how to explain, but that's the best way to explain it.
No, yeah.
I haven't sound a little crazy.
It makes sense, at least to us anyway. It really does. So that's so cool though, like so cool, and just so obviously. So you were in Hawaii and just kind of the virus hit, right, and then you came home and
yeah. So I was supposed to stay in Hawaii for 2 months, but then for some reason I decided to stay for a month. And like I was kind of like following my heart. So like I decided to come back to Canada. Then I was living in British Columbia, in Vancouver, because my parents moved to Vancouver during the whole pandemic. And obviously all the yoga studios they're closed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, this is very unfortunate. Because I was going to teach yoga and I can't, right? Like I try to like, I don't know, like online for me, it's not
the same.
The best, just because I really like to be like hands-on.
Yeah.
I like to like do adjustments. I think adjustments.
Yeah.
I'd love to do adjustments, especially during Shavasana. I think I love giving those adjustments.
Yeah. And it's just you connect, and it's the energy. Like you feel the energy, right? Like, have you ever taught a class where there's no energy? Like that is hard, right? You come out and it's like all of your energy has been zapped because there was no energy in the room. So when there's having that energy with other people is something else. It really is like another level, and it's so important, like Ben just said.
It's an important
online
part
is
of the whole thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's part of it. Like you know, teaching others, it really is. And online is awesome. You know, the fact that we can still teach online is really cool. But it's 100%. Not the same for sure. Definitely isn't.
And like I think that online might work for some people, right? Doesn't work for me, but I've been trying to do like little sessions here with like friends and there. But overall, ever since I've been back, this is something I was like scared of, and it has like happened unfortunately. But like it's kind of going back into that like my daily life without like I'm trying to say like it's like coming back into my life and then not being able to like implement the yoga that I've like learned, right?
Yeah.
And I think that I have struggled with that just because I guess like right now, it's like hard to like not like have the space first. Like I live in an apartment and stuff, but it's just not the same than like doing it. Whether it's like outside, but again, it's knowing like an actual like yoga studio. It's like kind of like having that space.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I need.
Yeah.
That I need a certain space to start becoming that mindset, to start doing like my flow. And so like I have struggled like doing yoga, especially during the whole like pandemic.
Yeah.
But then, you know, I'm not like being harsh on myself either. Like
it is what it is, and
exactly.
It's given us a chance to learn, right? In other ways as well. You can deepen your practice in other ways for yourself, and things like that. So that's cool though. So what's like? Do you have a next thing, or are you just gonna see what happens?
Well, I think my next thing is I wanna open up my own yoga studio. So I wanna
in Canada.
I think this is maybe, who knows? Like I think
have you got a job for anyone?
Sorry?
Have you got a job?
Yes, definitely. I would like if I do open it up and you come to Canada, please come to Canada.
Honestly, like I'm in. Like I'm not even gonna ask you. I'm telling you now. Like I'm taking the first job.
Got it. You got it. So I think that's like in the next probably like 5 years, I think that's my goal.
So sweet.
To at least, you know, open up my own studio, have my own business. Like right now, like all I'm doing is like saving money because obviously opening up a studio, it's not that easy.
Yeah.
I did meet another yoga teacher. She opened up her own studio, and she's 25, and she's doing great.
Nice.
And but obviously she opened it up during the pandemic, so she has like struggled with the whole pandemic, like everyone else has. And I think that right now I I look up to her because, in a way, we need to find people who have the things that we want to have.
Mm-hmm.
So we have kind of like some type of like guidance, like a mentorship. We need like a mentor in her life. So right now, I think I look up to her, just because obviously she has a yoga studio, and where I want to be in life, like later on in a few years, it's where she is right now.
Yeah.
So I'm like learning from her, and she wants to start teaching there once the yoga studios open up again.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's where I'm at right now in life, and that's where I want to be eventually. So as of now, I am also like, I'm managing a restaurant, so like 3 times a week. So I think that even though this is not like the perfect job that I want to have, I think it's also very helpful because it's teaching me how to manage a business. Even though it's a restaurant, it's different from a yoga studio. It's still teaching me new skills, and that's what the most important thing is for me right now. It's that I'm still learning. And obviously I don't have to learn a new thing every day, but as long as I'm still learning, I know that I'm still growing. I remember, I think it was Shri or Hannah. They were like, the moment you stop learning, it's the moment you stop growing. And that stuck with me. That really stuck with me because it's very true. I think the moment that we stop like searching for new things and we get too comfortable in life, like it's the moment where you don't do much growth, right? I think that we need conflict, we need uncomfortability in our life in order to grow, in order to lead us into the next step. Because if we're not stepping out of a comfort zone, we're not doing much, I think.
1000%.
But at the same time, I do think that it's not a lot about stepping out of the comfort zone, but it's about expanding the comfort zone. Because I think that, many people are like, yeah, step out of your comfort zone, blah, blah, blah. But then you take a step out, and then you're like, okay, I stepped out of my comfort zone. Now I go back into my comfort zone, right? So I think it's better to just take like baby steps and really expand your comfort zone in order to get more uncomfortable and at the same time comfortable with life. Right?
Yeah, because you can. It's like you need to find the comfort in the discomfort. But like, if you go too far, then you could go too far backwards. Whereas if it's just slow,
you might run away.
Then it's only like you're not going to be throwing yourself. Sometimes it's good to throw yourself in the deep end for sure, but it sometimes can result in worse things. So actually,
to tread water in the deep end.
Take it slow. But definitely expand. Definitely go there.
I love that.
But just
it's a really good way of saying it.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that we're not taught this in school or generally in like life. I think that for us that we're not leading such a conventional like life, and in the sense that we didn't like go to university, like got that degree, then getting into a job, then next thing is buying a house and settling down. I think that we need to like learn on how to expand our comfort zone, and I 100% believe that because again, we just need to grow. I think life is a journey, and another thing that I've learned throughout like my travels and everything is that true enlightenment does not exist, because once you become enlightened, what's after that? Right? Like if you think about it, the whole like process of becoming enlightened is the whole journey, right? Because like I guess like you were saying at the very beginning of the podcast, like once you hit your goal, it's like that's it. Like no, that's not what life is about. I remember before I even started traveling, I heard this. I saw this like YouTube video, I think it was a YouTube video, or I saw it on Facebook. It was about Alan Watts. I don't know if you heard about him.
Yeah, the philosopher.
Yeah.
I feel like you sent me this. I feel like you told me about this in Bali, and you sent me the video.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure you did. But my phone broke a few months ago, and I lost like so much stuff. So I think I've like lost it because like the chats and all that.
Well, there is a like if you go on YouTube and you type Alan Watts, and you put "Let It Happen by Itself," I think that there's like a bunch of like speeches that he did put into one with kind of like a montage, and he pretty much just says how like we're brought into this life, and we're put into like elementary school, and it's like come on kitty, like you go into grade 1, you go into like junior high, go into high school, it's like, oh, you're almost there, you're doing it. Then you get into university, and it's like, oh yeah, you're almost there, come on, you got this. Then you find a house, then you get married, you have kids, and then you find yourself 60 years later down the road, and you're like, wow, I've made it. But have you really? You're old, and now you cannot do anything that you could have done in your youth time, right? Yeah. So then I think that video really like stuck with me. And he says how life is like it's like a musical, but the whole point was not to the whole point is to like dance to life and listen to the music instead of just going by what like everyone tells you to do. So
it's so true.
So good.
Yeah, there's different ways to like approach life. Like I think that what works for some people may not work for others.
Yeah.
But as long as you're doing what you like, you're following a passion. That's the very first thing I would say to like someone who is starting to find out who they are. Is find your passion. It's hard because many people live their life without a passion or following their passion. Some people, they know their passion, but because they're working a good job and they're making good money, they're doing that instead of following their passion because they find some type of security through this job. But this job is not bringing them happiness. It's not bringing them any fulfillment that the passion would bring them. So I think finding your passion, it's a big step and it's not easy. It took me some time to find my own passion. It took me a few years. But once you do, follow that passion. Because I think you should feel lucky that you find your passion. And the fact you're able to pursue it and not give up like many people do. It's where it shows like how different we can be from others. Yeah.
And again, like even if you don't know what that passion is, do the things that you love, and through doing the things that you love, you'll find your passion.
100%. Like I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and she was like telling me how she doesn't know what her passion is, and like she doesn't technically like believe in passions because she thinks that passion is doing like kind of like things that you like. I'm like, no, I think that passion is like, for example, something that you feel so infatuated with, but sometimes you even forget to eat. You forget like what life outside
life
of that passion is because you're so focused on it. And I'm sure you have experienced that, Ben, when it comes to playing the guitar. Because I used to play the piano, and like I found part of my passion like playing piano, and I would just be there playing the piano, trying to like get the song right, And you just like forget about things.
Hours go by, you don't even know. Yeah.
So
sure.
I think that you're 100% right. I think we should be doing things that we like, or even things that we don't like. Or, for example, I think my whole point of going to Australia and doing my travels was that I was kind of challenging myself and doing things I didn't like to see what I can cross off in my life. Like, well, I don't like this. Going into the next thing,
I won't
right?
do that. Yeah.
And see if I like it or not.
This is true.
So,
So good.
Dude, it's been so good talking. Like, I don't know. It's just been so good to catch up and to hear the story in full and to hear, especially these final few words. Like, I don't know. You've just have such an awesome story, and you're so inspiring. I always say this. Oh my gosh, I need to find something else.
To go through the synonyms
I always
of
say this to the
inspire
people that we have, but
and
like,
get them in your brain.
you know, I guess you are, because we've reached out to you to share it, and you know, I've you know, spoken to Ben about you before, and like what you've shared with me before, and how, you know, even you have helped me with things, and it's just it's incredible. And so just keep doing it, because it's
I'm very flattered. Like, thank you so much. Like, you know, I think when you messaged me to be on this podcast, I've never been on a podcast, so I was like, I don't know, I was very flattered. I was like, oh, thank you so much. Like, it's really cool, like, sharing like my story. And I believe that, I think it all started when I started like looking up to people. Yeah. When others start to inspire me, I start to inspire others. And I just realized this, but for example, my friend that was in Australia, she inspired me to travel to Australia. And that's where like kind of like my whole like journey started.
Yeah.
Because of her inspiration towards like that I had towards her. I started inspiring others without even knowing. And I think, I'm really grateful for you guys, you know, being able to share my story here in the podcast. Honestly, and hopefully you guys are inspiring others as well.
Hopefully.
And this type of conversations, right?
Hopefully. But no, thank you as well to you. Honestly, thanks for just being like, yeah, sure. Like, it was really cool. I'm always worried when I ask. It's just like, oh, are they gonna be like, nah, it's not for me? But then, you were like, yes, and it was just like awesome. But no, honestly, it's really cool. One last question to close off the podcast, like we always do with everyone. What is your mantra, if any?
What is my mantra? My grandma would tell me this when I was younger, not a little kid, but when I was younger. She would say that, I guess, before you leave the house, always say, who am I and where am I going? And right,
that's cool.
And like I happen to like always kind of say that, who am I and where am I going? And I think that just like helps you just like kind of forget whoever you are and see who you become. Right? Awesome. Like deleting those like labels behind you, whatever expectations that have been like put on yourself, and then see where you're going, see who you become. Yes.
Nice. Awesome.
So
thank you so much. Honestly,
yeah, so good.
Like,
thank you.
Really appreciate it, and let's stay in touch. Like.
You have been listening to the Less Trodden Path podcast with Laura and Benedict. Make sure you subscribe to us on whichever platform it is you're using. If you would like to feature on the Less Trodden Path podcast, then head over to our website, thelesstroddenpath.com. Thank you for listening. The Less Trodden Path podcast is sponsored by imakesounds.com, music for content creators. If you're looking for royalty-free music to feature on your own podcast, blogs, YouTube videos and more, then head over to imakesounds.com.